Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 22nd episode of the Fans of DC Universe podcast, the only DCU podcast for the fans, by the fans, and the best source for all DC Universe news and discussion on everything DCU. Joining us this week are me, Nathan.Payson, and the one and only Joshua Lapin-Bertone. He is a writer. Hey. He is a writer for DC Comics, for DC Universe's news section, and more. But this week, there was also two really important shows that happened, okay? So we have, but anyway, this week on Fans of DC Universe, wow, I'm doing great today. We were talking Titans episode 13, Nightwing, Harley Quinn episode 1, Till Death Do Us Part, Wonder Comics joining DCU, and most importantly, our special guest. So we will be doing the interview at the end, but first, we need to talk about the biggest week in DCU's original content. We will be keeping the discussion to 10 minutes for each of the two episodes, so we have lots of time to do the interview. But before we even do that, I want to talk real quick about the plans for the next couple of weeks. So next week, we're going to be talking about the Arrowverse shows from episode 1 to the mid-season finale, and giving our predictions for Crisis on Infinite Earths. That means we're going to be talking about the first 8 episodes of Batwoman, Supergirl, what else? There, Arrow and the Flash, and maybe Black Lightning. So, as well as talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths. Then 2 weeks from now, we're breaking down the entirety of the first 3 episodes of Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then the week after, we're having another interview with the guest who I do know who it is, but I can't tell you. I don't want to tell you yet. And then finally, we'll be ending the year off with the Capies, which is going to be our new annual superhero award show. So expect polls and stuff to vote on to come soon. And that's a lot of stuff to do. And that's a packed final month. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk about Titans. Sorry to keep you waiting. So, in episode 13, Titans came to a close with Deathstroke and Cadmus. So what do you think of Titans episode 13, Nightwing?
You're asking, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no one else to ask.
Okay. Yeah. No. So the thoughts expressed are entirely those of do not represent those of DC Entertainment or Warner Brothers. That being said, I love the Nightwing costume. I loved the fight with Slade. That was really cool. I thought that it was paced really weird in some ways. Like,
yeah.
I would have moved, like, me personally, if I was in the writer's room. And there's a reason why I'm in the writer's room, because I write articles, not television shows. So, so my, Monday quarterbacking saying, yeah, I would have had the fight with Slade be last. I don't mind what happened to Donna. I thought that the way it happened was, like, really weird. In terms of, like, the day is saved. Oh, look, a pole is falling over. I liked with Blackfire Earth. I liked the explanation of kind of Raven messing with everyone's perceptions. That's why we were having Ghost Bruce Wayne. It took me because I saw this beginning of the week to get press screeners. It took me a few days to, like, realize, wait a second, what's Dick's legal status right now? Like, and I don't think it would be hard to clear that up. Like, you could have Bruce say, oh, like, I fudged the papers or something, or, like, saying, oh, I was actually secretly going undercover because I was like he could say that he was going undercover because Detroit cop at one point. But yeah, like, but I did not even think about that. And I was on another podcast talking about that episode, which I don't know if it's out yet. Recorded a few days ago, and none of us thought about that either. So, in fairness, everyone kind of forgot. So maybe the show people can be excused for thinking of it. But I thought the fight was awesome. I loved Rose acting.
Which fight?
Jericho. Oh yeah, I should say there was quite a few fights. I'm gonna say the Death fight because that was pretty cool. That was everything I wanted from the Titans show that moment.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint is that Deathstroke was the more engaged and interesting of the two big plot threads left, right? Like, it's not that I didn't mind the Cadmus plot, but it felt like something we've seen before. We've seen Cadmus be an evil organization before. We've seen them mess with Superboy. We've seen Superboy fight other heroes before. But I don't think we've ever gotten to see, like, a Nightwing fight. And I thought that there was just some with Jericho and Ravager involved. And I thought it was just so much more compelling throughout this whole season. And given that we started with Deathstroke, it felt more appropriate that we ended with Deathstroke. And I thought that fight was more enjoyable too. And I thought that would be a more enjoyable way to get to the Donna death. Was if Donna was killed with the sword, right? And then that's what prompts Ravager to kill Deathstroke, her father. And I thought that would have been a lot more compelling, and and instead of random pole falling from the sky, we're gonna we need to kill someone last minute. So we're just gonna come up with a random way to kill someone.
Well, especially with Donna, she has the emotional connection to Deathstroke because he killed Aqualad and he also killed Jillian and all of her Amazonian friends. So I feel like there would have been motivation.
Yeah.
And again, I emphasize again, views expressed are entirely my own and don't represent Warner Brothers, any of their subsidiaries, Nickelodeon, the White House, or any organ.
Good. Yeah, and I enjoyed it, and I'm so torn. So on one hand, I enjoyed it. On the other hand, after Donna died, I lost all enjoyment of it. Like everything just felt weird. Because it felt like it was almost parodying itself. It's like felt like it was like it was being a parody of superhero like darkness. It just felt so forced. That being said, I thought they did their best trying to like make it mean something after the fact. I think like with a death, it's so reliant on and I learned this really for the first time in this episode, that like superhero deaths are very reliant on being compelling, like the reason for death, and I thought that was missing. That being said, that Nightwing fight was so good.
Yeah, that was everything I've wanted from Titans. And Donna they kind of left the door open for her to come back.
Yeah.
Because number one, Rachel goes off with them. I want to see if I can help with Donna. And the Amazons have a device called the Purple Healing Ray. So there is that. And Donna did die in the comics, and she came back a few years later. Her death was a little different in that, she was killed by a malfunctioning Superman robot. And I see almost a week in advance sometimes. And there was a lot of rumors that, the trailers were like, someone's going to die, And there was one person online who was saying, Donna, my sources say, and this is someone who's very hit or miss. Like, there's some inside stuff that they're able to get right, and not just guessing. Like, they've gotten very specific stuff right, but they've also gotten very specific stuff right. So I was kind of going in this with okay, countdown to Donna's death, and when she was talking to Connor, I was like, is this going to be like the comic where the rogue Superman robot kills Donna? Like, is Superboy going to be the one to do it? And I was very, very worried for her, but then she lived for another few minutes.
And then a pole came flying down.
Yeah, well, and that's
who
the
was
thing. It's like we've taken.
Who was going to die if the pole landed?
We've taken care of all the recent mess of the episode, and it was a pole. And granted, it's not a total waste to save someone's life, but it feels so.
Yeah, I mean,
feel like
who was
I feel like you
die?
needed more gravity to for her death to make it more than a falling pole.
Yeah, I mean, who was gonna die if the pole had landed?
That little girl, mom, right?
I guess it was but I think part of it is it didn't actually look like she rescued anyone when she held the pole up in the air, right? Like it felt like everyone had moved out of the way. And for all we know, if it would have landed, all the lightning would have flown everywhere. I don't know, and killed somebody. But I think part of the problem is you need to feel like what she's doing is worthy.
Yeah, I mean, in a way it's worthy because she saved someone, but
yeah,
I would have liked to have been something more than a falling pole. And, maybe she'll be back next season. It'll all be for naught. And again, and the show not only left that door open, but they telegraphed too, like with Raven saying, I'm going to go with them and see what I can do about this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So moving into season 3, it looks like we're going to have Blackfire. Do you have any thoughts on what season 3 will look like?
I am very, very curious of it. First of all, I'm very worried about the kids that were left in the car. The trunk was open when she walked away, so they're not gonna burn to death in the car. They could easily get out, but I'm like, I hope that those two kids get their mom back by the end of the season. Because I felt, yeah,
I
because I
think if
felt
it
very
takes till
bad
the
for
end of the season for them to get their mom back, I think her mom's going to die.
Well, and it just raised so many questions. I was like, okay, so Tamarani, it's like she's not actually on Earth. Like she's kind of like controlling somebody as like an avatar. And then I was like, wait, is Corey doing the same thing? Did Corey take over some woman's body? Then I remembered we've seen Corey's spaceship. So Corey's not doing that. Like Corey and Fide both came with their own spaceships. But
Although they've both been destroyed.
right, yeah, but I was wondering, like, did they like take over someone's body and Corey just doesn't remember because of amnesia? So that was interesting to me, and I was like, well, why couldn't she just like land? Why did she have to separate those poor children from their mother? I feel really bad about that. I'm actually hoping, and I don't know what they're going to do. We also have this little Jason Todd thread that's kind of, untangled because he's kind of going off on his own. It doesn't seem like he's going to be going back to Manor. And
No.
And Bruce is having a fun dinner with the Titans. Like, he's not like, shouldn't you be looking for your award? No.
Yeah. I heard this rumor that they were working on a Red Hood show. And I don't know if I believe that, but it felt kind of like that's what they were doing. Like creating this loose thread for them to pick out elsewhere outside of Titans.
I mean, if something was greenlit, I feel like we would have heard about it by now. Because, I mean, if they're working on something, it's something that's like just a negotiation stage. Because,
Yeah.
if they were actually filming in production, there'd be a paper trail, paperwork. There'd be studio stuff set aside. There'd be people auditioning. It would have to be like super secret. Curran Walters as Todd is super popular, and people have been asking for a spinoff ever since like season 1. So it would not surprise me, to say the least. I've thought about it a few times. He hasn't died and come back dead yet, but like, you could do that. Like, you could almost do that like Arrow, like where in his spinoff where like he remembers dying, coming back, like, and they reveal what happened to him over flashbacks or something. Or there's no, I might get lynched for this, or that was a very poor choice of words. Wow, I apologize. I might get attacked, but there's no rule that says that he has to die and come back from the dead to be Red Hood. You could still you could still do that story. I'd prefer it because it's closer to the comic canon, and as the angry people will say to me, like, that's one of the most iconic things that ever happened, and they're not wrong. But you could technically do the story that way. I'd watch a Jason Todd show if it was done well.
Well, yeah, I don't think he needs to die because he's already sort of put himself in the mental state that Red Hood's kind of in. Right? He obviously probably has a little bit farther he could go down the rabbit hole before like fully being like early Red Hood. But like he's kind of just fallen apart and he's lost like trust in everyone. I feel like that's kind of where Red Hood sort of shines. Is this I've become a Lone Ranger because I feel like I can't trust anyone. And I think I think we're already deviating from canon, and that it's not that he's lost trust faith in Batman, although it's partly he's really lost faith in Dick Grayson. And I think that's such an interesting shift dynamically. But I did say only 10 minutes. So we are going to move on to Harley Quinn, the animated series. But before we do, we have one more person who to join into the conversation. We have the wonderful who's here.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Wow.
So, without further ado, in Harley Quinn episode 1, Till Death Do Us Part, Harley Quinn realized that the Joker doesn't love her as much as Batman. So, what do you think of the premiere? And I don't know how much you've seen, Joshua, so try to not spoil anything.
Oh, okay.
How much have you seen?
If you want to know, I've seen the entire. They
Oh wow.
Usually what they do is they will send us. I'll tell you what they do for Titans to the press.
Okay.
So if a Titans episode is going to drop on a Friday, they will usually send press members the episode on Monday. Sometimes it's later than Monday, like sometimes it's Tuesday or Wednesday or even Thursday, but like 80% of the time it's Monday. And that's what they did with Doom Patrol, with Swamp Thing, etc. With Harley, about like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we got an email saying, "Hey, here's the entire season. This show is effing great. Have fun." And I
Spoil
binged it
anything you want.
they said spoil anything you want, but then there's like a little disclaimer at the bottom, like, don't spoil certain things, like. But it's good. The entire series is good.
That's awesome to hear. It's interesting. I've been reading some of the reviews online, and I'm a little bit like, if it's already out, why can't we just watch it all now? But I get it, because they need to expand out and take their time, because they need to kill some time before the next big show comes.
I prefer the weekly release too, because number one, as a freelancer, it gets more assignments. But number two,
that's true.
It kind of like keeps the conversation about the show going. Whereas, like, with the Marvel Netflix shows, they'd come out, everyone would be talking about it for a week, and then you wouldn't have anything for 11 or 12 months. And by the time they'd come back, I'd kind of forget, like, what some of the cliffhangers were. I was like, wait, which character was alive and which one was dead? And, like,
it blurs in.
Say what?
It all blurs together, which happens when you watch all of them back to back to back to back to back. It blurs it blurs everything in.
Yeah, and then when you don't watch it for like 11 months, it doesn't like sit in your brain the same way. But when you're watching something week to week, it sits in your brain differently, and people will have conversations and debate things like, oh, when is Dick Grayson come night? I think Jericho's still alive, and stuff like that.
I also think with a show like Titans, it really helped that like the first half was very good and the second half struggled a little bit. But I think it really helped Titans' momentum in that like every single discussion about for the first 6-7 weeks about it was very positive. Whereas if you like took Titans as a whole and you like reviewed it all in one, you'd be like, well, it was a fine season. Like it had some weaknesses towards the second half, but the first half was good. Instead of this was really good, this was really good, this was really good, this was really good, this was amazing, this was really good. Oh, now it's starting to fall apart a little bit. And I think when you were saying, I found it interesting that you get more assignments out of the weekly release, which helps the press.
Exactly, and I think that publicity probably thinks about that too. Like, oh yeah, people will talk about the cliffhangers, and like I remember more about like shows that I watch once a week, shows that I watch for like a week, 1 month a year, and then again I don't think about them for like with Orange is the New Black, which isn't a show or something, but I would watch that like when they would come out, and then the next year I'd be like, oh yeah, those two characters did break up last year. I forgot about that. Like it doesn't stay with the same.
Yeah. But let's talk about the actual episode itself. I really liked the opening episode. And I heard a lot of talk going in about how like it worked in spite of the language, but I didn't even really notice the language all that much. Like, I noticed it for like the first 5 minutes, and then it all kind of just blurred together, language-wise.
And yeah, I have a Word doc where I'm counting the F-bombs just for fun.
How many F-bombs did you get?
So I started counting 11 minutes and 30 seconds in, and I'm going to go back and like do the first 11 for my article, but for the second half of the episode, there was 4 F-bombs. But I feel like there was a lot more in the first half, especially like that the yacht scene.
I'm pretty sure that that at the Comic-Con panel, I was listening to like a live feed of it, or reading a live feed of it, and they said that there was 24 F-bombs. It was like an F-bomb a minute. And then for every other episode, they dialed it down to 4 or 5 F-bombs total per episode.
24. That would mean that I missed 20 in the first 11 minutes. I don't know, maybe. I will have
There
to.
was a lot of F-bombs. Duke, what did you think of the episode?
I'm sorry?
Duke, what did you think of the episode? What did you think of the episode?
I saw clips of it. I haven't seen the full episodes. I've been pretty busy all day, so I haven't sat down and watched, but I saw clips of it. I do like the animation. I haven't heard much of the F-bombs yet, but is it I hope that it's not like gratuitous type of stuff. It's not like that sort of like, we're adults, we are gonna swear every 5 seconds, but that sort of thing. But maybe that's part of the joke. Maybe that's how it is. But I honestly think that the show, it looks interesting, it looks good, and I do, with the clips and stuff I do see, it does seem that there's actually a lot more chemistry and a lot more togetherness than, say, a certain certain show on DC Universe that doesn't have right now. But overall, what I've seen, the clips, I honestly think this could be a decent show. Something that actually could maybe be on Adult Swim or something.
Yeah, I really liked the Harley Ivy dynamic in this episode. And I thought it was very compelling. That they took their time to really showcase Harley pre-Joker. Because, the classic thing I wanted to see is her splitting up, right? I really wanted them to make that happen right away. And I was originally dismayed at the amount of time they spent, having Harley, fight her desire with Joker. But I think in having watched the whole thing, I think it makes the future stronger. And that it's a lot more clear, what she's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I hope that, when I look at the stuff later on, it seems like, again, I just, I do want the show to be because it looks good. It looks like it could be a fun time. And again, it's going to be only 30 minutes. It's nice. It's there. And, and quite honestly, I get a little sick of the whole melodrama. So even the stuff I did like, most of the stuff that came on DC Universe was, a lot of melodrama. And this seems to be a lot more leaning towards some more fun stuff, which is, good. I hope that this and Stargirl, not as much as Stargirl could be, not as, you know what I'm saying, right? Not as this vibe, but also, has that type of, light levity to it. Because some of these shows, right, other than, say, for example, maybe Doom Patrol has some of the levity, but, man, it's, some of DC Universe, that's one of those problems that don't really have much levity to it. And
yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, but I think I honestly think we'll bring more people in if there's a little more fun. And this show, Harley Quinn, looks like it has some more fun.
It's a very, very fun show, and I love this first episode. I have not gotten tired of watching it.
How many times have you seen it?
So I saw it at the Comic-Con panel in July, and then I saw it when they dropped the screeners a few weeks ago, and then I watched it with a buddy about a week later. Then earlier today, I watched it again to take notes for an article I'm going to do on it. So 4 times so far, and
Wow.
I guess I'm going to watch again to count the F-bombs, so that'll be 5 times then. But it holds up because the dialogue is very, very nice, very, very funny, very, very fast. They compared it to early Adult Swim, in early 2000, and I totally see that. I totally get that vibe. Like, this feels like something, I'm going to age myself here, but, like, it feels like something that I would have watched on Adult Swim when I was, like, 7 years old in, like, the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's really wonderful that that DC Universe especially has this diversity. I think the common thread so far is this maturity, and that's like trying to find this market of superhero stuff that we haven't really gotten to enjoy, especially with the absence of the Netflix shows, which have all kind of disappeared, right? Or Netflix superhero. I think there's this giant market wide open for DC Universe. And I'm glad that like it's not just like the gritty, like serious drama like Doom Patrol or Titans or Swamp Thing. I'm glad that they're also doing something like that's like still mature, but like really fun and off the walls. And I thought there was a bunch of really fun moments. My favorite joke, there was one moment I really liked the Costco line. It was like Harley Quinn got dropped in the vat of margarita mix, and Ivy was like, "Oh, how much money I spent or how much time I spent trying to like find all this stuff." And then who was it? The Riddler was like, "I told you, you should have gotten Costco." And then she's
and
like,
I told you, I only shop there
once
a year, so it does not pay for itself.
So true. It was so funny. So that is Harley Quinn. Last question before we wrap up this Harley Quinn discussion, though. I have to know, scale of 1 to 10, where is the romance between Harley and Ivy? Joshua.
Go ahead.
Like, where does it end up?
Like, in this episode or the entire...
No,
like,
throughout the season.
Oh, I don't know if I want to spoil.
Okay.
And yeah, I like, because I feel like if I say it's there, I spoil something. If I say it's not there, I spoil something. So it's like, I'm just gonna have to say no comment.
Okay, I have seen.
But
I
saw it on
IGN.
Keep watching because it is great. It is hilarious.
I saw an answer to this question on IGN, but I was just curious if you want to say anything about it.
I'm curious. What did IGN say?
Well, they said that that it's not the traditional Harley Quinn Ivy dynamic that fans have come to expect over the years, and Harley and that Ivy may or may not get a boyfriend at one point. And then they also said it wasn't really about their romantic partnership, but their friendship.
Well, actually, that would be to me very, I know it's not going to stop the shipping because Lord knows nothing's going to stop people's ships. That's just, that's telling them like, next thing you know, you're going to try to tell the tide to come back in, but that's not impossible. But I like to see a good friendship show, that's not a terrible thing.
I guess.
I mean, that's not, it's not the end of the world. I mean, criminals, need friends too.
But I guess we're not talking about Batman and Superman. We're talking about like Harley Quinn and Ivy, like one of the few like classic sort of LGBTQ couples, in DC Comics. So they aren't fully a couple yet, but they're kind of on and off in the comics. Well, anyway,
there's an episode coming up with Damian, and Damian is voiced by one of the kids from Good Boys. And it's my favorite episode of the season, and it is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a part, and because he's very unlike the Damien, there's a part where he like looks into the camera and he says, "I'm a sweet potato pie." I thought that was, and even some people might be like, "That's not Damien." It's not like, watch the episode. Like,
I'm so curious to see this now.
Yeah, so he's actually likable. That's
like, and he's not completely unlike the comic Damien. Just he takes himself more seriously than the rest of the world does. It's like he's saying all the things that you would expect Damien to like say, but he's saying it in this like cutesy 12-year-old boy like
yeah,
and nobody takes him seriously at all. And like the second that he's in any real danger, he just cries for his daddy.
Aww. Okay, so that is Harley Quinn. But so we're going to spend the next 10 minutes total talking about two things, news and comics. So, new to DCU this week, we have Aquaman number 42, Batman number 59, Damage number 11, Harley Quinn number 54, Justice League number 12, Justice League Dark number 5, Nightwing number 53, Sideways number 10, Teen Titans number 24, and Injustice 2 Annual number 2. And for you newly digitized fans, I'm looking at you, Donnell, specifically, Detective Comics number 335, Doom Patrol number 9, House of Mystery number 189, House of Secrets number 120, Son of Ambush Bug number 6. Is everything okay?
I'm fine. My mic's acting a little awkward, so.
Strange Adventures number 220, Superman number 13, Superman's pal number Jimmy Olsen number 5, which is, I think, Donnell's most anticipated comic of this week. And so, what did you guys read, just out of curiosity, this week from the comic section?
Jimmy Olsen, Superman pal, was on a bit of an old school kick. Again, liked it. I love the story of, Jimmy Olsen trying to, the newsboys. Like, man, it's such a weird era to talk about, newsboys saying, get your papers here and all this type of stuff. And this really, very, local story that had wasn't Superman saving the day or being aliens. It's just like he barely shows up, but Jimmy Olsen does all this work to get these these kids their jobs back from a failing newspaper. Which at the end of the day, anonymous Rich Shorts, which was Perry White who brought it back, which is really interesting.
Joshua, what did you read this week?
See, I have to look at my dive back in. So that's what I'm on right now. I'm like, what have I read this? I've been very busy this week, so I haven't read a lot. But I'm looking at my dashboard. So I reread Harley Quinn 25th anniversary special 1 because that had a Harley birthday party story that I cited in an article where Poison Ivy poisons Joker and forces him to throw a surprise party for Harley. I read Injustice 2 number 70 because there's a reference in there the Harley and Ivy being married. I used for an article.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, they're like a legit couple. Anyway.
I legit thought that they were going to kiss last year in that story. Like, remember that Tom story last year? Where, Ivy takes over the world and bring in Harley to, calm her down. And I'm like, are they going to kiss? I read Peter David's Supergirl, an issue where, she basically comes out to her parents that she's a girl because this was a different Supergirl where, it wasn't Kara Zor-El Superman's cousin. This was, at the time, Supergirl was this protoplasmic matrix from, another dimension.
Wait, what?
And oh, man. First of all, this is my favorite Supergirl, but her origin it is so complicated. She was a protoplasmic matrix from another direction, and kind of a low-key, clone of Silver Age Lana Lang. And she went to our dimension. And at one point, years later, there's a girl named Danvers who's a Satanist, and she's been sacrificed to, this cult. And Supergirl goes to save her, and when she saves her, they merge. They become, one body.
What?
And the issue... Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
It's by Peter David. It's if you look at it on DC Universe, it's Supergirl 1996. I'd recommend everybody reading it. It's one of my favorite series to binge. And the last arc of it is really hilarious because Kara Zor-El from the Silver Age crashes into Earth. But when I say Kara Zor-El from the Silver Age, I mean literally from the Silver Age. She's she has the sensibilities of a teenage girl from 1955, and she's reacting to the late 90s, early 2000s world, and the other Supergirl has to help her, and they switch places. So our Supergirl goes to the Silver Age, and hilarity ensues.
Oh my god!
And it actually gets tragic, but
comics never cease to amaze me.
It is awesome.
Every time you're I've gotten all the weirdness. Nah, there's something weirder.
He is a complicated origin, but I love that Supergirl.
That's awesome.
And I was reading old Fury of Firestorm because I had to talk about family drama in an article recently. And do you know who Firestorm's stepmom was in the comic?
No clue.
Felicity Smoke.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so Felicity Smoke was the girlfriend, eventual wife of Ed Raymond, which was Ronnie
Oh my
Raymond's
God.
father. And kind of like hated Firestorm the way that J. Jonah Jameson hated Spider-Man. She's like, I'm taking court. He shouldn't be wrecking stuff. He's sloppy when he does his superhero things. He ruined my company. And Firestorm is low-key her stepson. And she eventually finds out and they make up. Yeah. And she looks nothing like she does on Arrow. She's a brunette. She's got kind of like curly hair. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm kind of behind right now because I just bought my first omnibus ever, which was Brian Vaughan's Saga, and I'm reading it for the first time right now, which is so good. But this is a DC podcast. I'm not going to go into how wonderful and how much I'm loving Saga. Instead, I read Teen Titans number 23 and 24 this week of the Rebirth run, and I'm really liking the new direction. I think it's a lot better than I was expecting, and it's more compelling than I was expecting. I don't have a whole lot to say about that other than I can't decide how they're actually trying to portray Damien's sexuality in the issue, because I can't decide if they're trying to make him fall in love or not. It's very weird.
I feel like he has a thing for that girl, I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, the witchy girl.
I mean, she's a genie, but yeah, I don't. But it's weird because I can't figure out if they actually, if they're purposely trying to, if it's just weird dialogue, or if he genuinely has a crush on her, and I and it's just weird, or is Jen playing with his feelings? I don't know. That's that. But anyway, that's what I read this week. But let's talk about some news real quick. So you write news, right? And I actually didn't see a lot of discussion on DC Universe about this. But DC released this quote to a press release. For those who haven't had the chance to check out critically acclaimed hit series like Naomi and Young Justice, this will be their chance. The celebrated writer Brian Michael Bendis' Wonder Comics imprint will be arriving on DC Universe this winter. And that's really exciting because we haven't had confirmation up to this point that Wonder Comics was coming to DC Universe. But it was also, reading the article was a little weird.
Was that in an email or?
It was a press release to various groups of people.
Okay, I was like, I might have written that.
I don't know, but that'd be so
I was like, I remember writing a press release about Wonder Comics recently, and I was like, I wonder if I wrote that.
I'm sure. I feel after the show, I'll send it to you, and you can figure out if you wrote it or not. But it was.
I'm looking at my sent box to see if I can find the one I submitted to
Here,
to celebrate Wonder
Comics. I'll send it to you right now. But it was very weird because one of the things the article was doing was here's everything coming out to DC Universe till February, and I'm like, that is nowhere near everything, and it's only a couple of the highlights, and all of it was already basically expected. It was weird. So yeah, I'll send it to you. So what's your favorite Wonder Comics imprint story?
I'm liking the Young Justice revival. I'm not really that big into Gem World, so now that they're off of Gem World, I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do next. But the original Young Justice was one of my favorites, and I'm looking forward to seeing where else the title is going to go. I mean, I have Cassandra Sands, Mark Drake, and Connor together.
Yeah, are you a Tim Drake Connor person?
Do I ship them?
Yeah.
No, I mean I don't ship.
Okay.
But I enjoy their friendship. It's
So
I don't know. It's
yeah. I've read it I've been more or less caught up with the series, not quite. And I like it, but it feels very absent from everything else. Like, it feels more like Bendis is just trying to, like, explore the DC Universe, and less like it's about the kids. Which, hey, you can decide whether you like that or not. I think Bendis is having the time of his life right now at DC, whether you like what he's doing or not. Okay, I sent it to you, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. It's like, this is a little different than what I wrote, but I totally wrote this press.
So you wrote this, okay?
Yeah,
Look at us here.
I'm looking at my draft right now. Do you have an?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I wrote that press release. That's funny.
Hey, you wrote our weekly news You wrote the weekly news. That's an exclusive right there, you guys.
I don't do it every.
Yeah.
This was one that was, hey, take care of it. Sure.
So
and I wondered, like, hey, I wonder whatever happened to that, if that ever got like down or like where it got sent out.
Oh yeah, it literally just came out this week. I love how they don't say who the press release is by.
I mean, they don't need to. Press release, it's fine.
Okay. Anyway, let's get to the interview. So that's Wonder Comics. Oh, by the way, my favorite Wonder Comics story is Naomi. There you go.
I binge read that on the subway on my way to New York Comic Con.
Yeah. Although I really like what's the title called? The Wonder Twins.
That is funny as well.
Yeah, it's just so heartfelt and just weird and wacky. And I'm curious to see what they do with Wonder Comics going into year 2. Because where's our Naomi 2? You know? Anyway.
Well, it looks like they're going to introduce her into like various other titles first. Like,
yeah.
I know she's about to show up in Justice, I believe. And
yep.
I think she's been in like some of Bendis' other stuff.
Yep. She was in Action Comics, and that's where she first met Superman. The first time she ever met Superman. So let's get to the interview. So we're going to start with just some speed questions. I'm going to give you like 5, 7, let's say 10 seconds to answer every question.
Oh, okay? Boy. Okay.
Ready? Speed round. Favorite comic?
Ever. Oh, God, this is hard. Second. I'm going to say Wolfman Perez, New Teen Titans, but I don't have just comic.
Okay, if you change your mind, just let us know at any point. Favorite superhero movie?
Favorite superhero movie? That is a very good question. There's a lot of wrong with them, but I love the Tim Burton Batman movies, even though there's a lot wrong.
Favorite superhero live action TV show?
Gotham, because I have a lot of personal connections with that show because I covered it very closely.
Wow. Favorite animated TV show?
Superhero, Young Justice. Non-superhero, Steven.
What show? Oh, Steven Universe?
Yeah, Steven Universe.
I've never seen that show.
I binged all of it in 2 weeks a few months ago.
Wow. Favorite animated TV show? Wait, we already asked that question. Favorite Robin, including Starro.
Favorite Robin, Tim Drake. Favorite person who's been Robin, if that makes sense. Like Dick, I like as a character, but as Robin,
So Dick is your favorite person who's been Robin?
Yeah. But if I have to say my favorite person in the Robin, it's a compliment.
Yeah. I'm Jaro. Okay. Favorite Justice League member?
Batman.
Wally or Barry?
Wally West all the way.
Favorite current DC Comics series?
Ooh, this is an interesting one. I am reading Batman very closely. Although Greg Rucka Rucka's writing it, right? I'm loving his Lois Lane. I think I'm gonna say
Lois Lane.
Yeah, Lois Lane is good.
Isn't it like related like very heavily to like the press?
It is.
I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to reading it at some point. Favorite non-DC comic series?
Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, not currently now. Like but like over the years and like everything. Yeah, like I love Spider-Man. That's one of my big fandoms.
Do you have a favorite right now, non-DC series?
That I'm reading? I don't read a lot of non-DC lately, just time. But
Yeah.
I am reading Marvel stuff, and I am reading Spider-Man again for the first time in a few years.
What show? What comic?
Spider-Man for the first time.
Which one? The Miles Morales? Which Spider-Man series?
Peter Parker, but Miles is always awesome too.
Favorite comics writer?
Of all
time.
Stan Lee, because of all the did.
What about favorite current comics writer?
Greg Rucka, maybe.
Okay. Best superhero costume?
That is a good question. I'd say 4. Superman, because for what it's worth, like, it's...
Wait, which Superman costume?
Well, see, and that's the thing, like, his classic costume, because it's changed very little over, which says something, where, like, everyone else's costume has gone through all these iterations. Superman, it's so iconic that it's very rarely ever deviated from the original. If it has,
so with or without undies?
With the undies. You gotta have undies.
Okay. And last one. Are you for or against the 5G rumors?
I would need to learn more and see it in action before I could judge it for sure. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. So let's get some more interesting questions, though. So, what is life like as a freelancer?
Cut off a little bit, but I think I got the question.
What is life like as a freelancer?
I'm enjoying it because it's, first of all, if you're single and you're not like raising kids in a family, it's great because my schedule is what I want it to be as long as I get my assignments done. I don't have to go into an office every day, so I have my laptop. I can do my work where I want, when I want. Last month, I took a trip across I live in Florida, and I drove as north as like Ohio, and I stopped at a few places along the way and visited friends, and I got all my work done because I had my laptop. Awesome. I could do my work. So as long as you're organized and schedule yourself, it's great. I enjoy the freedom. Schedule is what I want it to be. If I have an offer to go somewhere, meet someone, take a trip, I can do that. So that is great too. You read a lot of comics. You you always know what time it is in California because that's where my editors are. So I'm always like keeping that in mind. And not just editors, but like publicists that you have to email too. You're always like, okay, it's too early to email them this now because no one is awake in California yet, or like stuff like that.
Yeah. That's really funny. I never thought about that. But I live on the West Coast now, so but so it's kind of weird actually. Like everything everything feels like it's like focused on Eastern time, but all streaming service, like all TV stuff is Eastern time, but all streaming service stuff is Pacific time.
Because most of those people live in California, probably.
Yeah. But all the TV stuff is Eastern.
Yeah.
Which is funny. So how'd you get your job at DC Universe?
So I've been writing for a few other fan sites, here and there over the one that I've been with for a long time is the BatmanUniverse.net. And when you're writing for these sites, you kind of get to know certain publicists, certain other freelancers, because you guys show up to like the same events, like the same press room, same press junkets, at Comic-Con you see the same people. And my editor at the Universe was a guy who, we had seen at press tables a lot. And this was actually at the Young Justice press table in 2018. I was sitting at the same table with him and a few other people. And I'm not saying his name in case, his name is not a secret, but in case he doesn't want his inbox flooded with people saying, hey, hire, stuff like that. I'm just being, cautious. But it's not hard for a detective to figure out who the person is. He mentioned what his current assignment was, that, oh yeah, I'm the editor of all written content at DC Universe now. And at the time, the service hadn't launched yet. So I said, hey, all written content. So will you guys be doing articles? And he said, yes. And I was like, are you looking for writers? And he said, yeah, send me some samples. And he gave me his card. Right after Comic-Con at July, I sent him my articles. I sent pitches of what I could do, I believe. And I got very, very excited because that was at a time in my life when I was leaning more into freelancing, like that summer, because my other ways I was making other parts of my life had basically stopped lucrative for reasons that would take way too long to explain here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to lean more into freelance writing. And I heard that the perfect time, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a lifelong DC fan. This would be great. I got so excited. And I did not hear from that email. So I was like, oh well. I sent a follow-up about 10 days later, and I heard nothing again. So I was like, well, that could have been awesome, but oh well.
Oh, well.
And I concentrated on my other, like other sites that I was writing, stuff like that. And I was on a Skype call with Dust, who's my editor at Batman Universe, and I was telling him about this. And he said, I think you're going to hear from them because they're about to launch soon. And I was like, no, if I hadn't heard anything happen, he's like, I think you'll hear something before they launch. And I think it was like the day before launch day or something. At the time I was making extra money because like bills were bad by driving for Postmates. And I'm at this like Mexican restaurant picking up food. And my phone gives the notification that I got the email back from this editor. And I like grabbed the table I was sitting at, like, oh my gosh, what has happened? And yeah, they were like, it was basically, hey, yeah, sorry I didn't get back to you. Let's do this conversation. And I was very, very excited. Number one, because I wasn't have to deliver for Postmates anymore. But number two, because, I wouldn't feel this way if this was like the Nerdist or CBR. No offense to those sites. Those sites, I got nothing against them. This is a site that has the name DC. This is the site that's going to be showing Titan, Doom Patrol, and eventually Stargirl. That's been delayed a time. So that was a really, really exciting moment and gave me a lot of joy at the time. I tried not to fanboy too much about it because I didn't want my editor to wait a second, you're not a good you're just a fanboy that somehow like tricked us this whole time.
That's so cool. Like, what was your first article for DC Universe?
The first article that they committed to do was so you go to a lot of press events at Comic-Con, like, so for example, there was like a Supergirl thing for the 1984 movie that I went to where we interviewed like Mark McClure, who played Jimmy Olsen, and Helen Slater, who played Supergirl, and they said, oh, can you give us one of those interviews for that? So I started working on that, and then Norm Brayfogle passed away, so I emailed my editor and I said, hey, can I write something up about Norm Brayfogle since he passed away? And he said, yeah, sure, and that was the first thing I ever wrote for DC Universe, was a kind of a 400-word tribute to Norm Brayfogle. And I agonized over every word because I wanted it done right, because it was the first thing I had ever done for DC Universe. So I didn't want to have to make it like be something that they'd have to correct so much that they'd be like, oh, let's not use this guy anymore. He's too sloppy, something like that.
You know what's funny? I've been doing a lot of essay work for college stuff, and I've never had an appreciation for what like certain word counts mean and don't mean until like now. I'm like, oh, it's 400 words. It doesn't take me that long to get there, but it takes me that long to get there, like, and get it right. And so I think so. I totally get what you're saying about like agonizing over every word, because in like college essay stuff, I only get 300 words or so to say everything I need to say, and it's just like
It takes me a lot quicker to write an article now than it did like when I started, because I would agonize over getting it right. So, and I would overly like research certain things, and I'd spend like an hour trying to figure out how to phrase a paragraph. And now I kind of have a better sense of things. I know my editors and my editor. So, and I'm a little more confident. So like now I can do like a typical assignment that used to take me 8 hours, now takes me like 2 to 3 hours.
Wow, that's a giant difference.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sure it helps too with cash intake because you're getting more articles out.
Right. Well, I never say. Maybe I have once in a. I never really say no to like what. But at the time, I was working an overnight job, and it was an overnight job that required a lot of sitting around waiting, just kind of being a presence. So I take my laptop with me. So from like 10 p.m. to 8 in the morning, that was when I would get my articles done. And I could usually, it used to like take me an entire shift to get one done. But then by the time that I was like quitting that job, because I quit that job this summer, which was one of the benefits of working in DC. I quit that job this summer, and by then I was able to like do 3 articles in it sometime, as opposed to like 1.
Yeah. So the reason why everyone should support DC Universe is to help writers.
Well, so many other reasons.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So what's been the best part about working at DC Universe, other than not having to work everywhere?
Bragging rights.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a freelancer. I'm not a comics employee. I'm not a, I want to preface that. But I love the bragging rights. One of my other jobs is I work with kids and stuff like that, and one of the kids is like a big DC fanboy, so I love being able to like tell him, hey, yeah, no, my stuff is on DC Network. And that's cool. And just earlier in this podcast, it was like that press release. It was like, I think I wrote that. And then like seeing that, like, oh, so like seeing stuff that I wrote like go out in official press release by DC. That's just crazy.
So cool. I know, you were said that, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, and that was how I found that out. And then just, seeing my stuff getting like retweeted by like people who I respect and stuff like that too. I wrote an article about Patrol for DCComics.com, which is the sister site for DC Universe. And like the writers of the show retweeted it, the show's official account retweeted it and liked it. And as someone who was working on sites for years, like you had to make a lot of noise to get noticed by like the big people. And here I am, like my stuff is getting like retweeted by those people. So that's cool in of itself.
Yeah, it's validating.
Yes.
And like as a freelancer, like I think one thing I was thinking about is like I know YouTubers talk all the time about how like they don't feel like they don't get to ever see the people who read their stuff, or I mean in this YouTuber's case watch the stuff, and so it's like nice to get like lots of feedback on what you're doing.
And I don't always get lots of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in I live in Florida and their offices are in Burbank, so I don't go to the offices very often. But like
right.
I was at the offices last week, and the associate editor, who's different than the person that hired me, but he also goes through my stuff, he said, oh, by the way, that Dick Grayson Black Book article you did got like a lot of hits and a lot of feedback. And I was like, really? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. It was one of our biggest that week. And I was surprised and happily surprised because, I put a lot of work into. So I don't always know what's hitting and what's not, but I hear things from people and it's happy.
So does DC Universe tell you like how much hits your articles generally get, or do they generally just tell you when you're like over there?
They don't tell me, but I haven't asked either.
Okay.
And they don't always have the numbers in front of them either. Like, so like my editors, I don't see them in person a lot, but like when I did, I was like, oh, I think I said, hey, what about the Easter eggs? How did those do? And they said, oh yeah, those do well. So, but like, he didn't have like a graph that he could show me in front of me because we were, that wasn't why I was there. This was actually at the DC Lounge that they did at New York Comic Con, which was really cool. That was an awesome hangout spot.
It's so fun. So I was like thinking, like, what are some of the benefits? And I was like, didn't you like just go to like this giant press event?
It's funny too about I have a little more clout than I usually did because like when I was working for fan sites, if I wanted to go to a press room or like a press junket or something like that, you'd have to email publicists, and the publicist will say that there's room for you or there's not. With DC Universe, there's a little more pedigree, but the thing is too, if my editors are already going, I can't exactly say, hey, I'm for DC Universe, so I still have to kind of go through sites for some of those. Freelancing. But my editors have been very, very helpful when it comes to like benefits. If I've wanted to participate in something or go or do something, they've done a lot of things to help make that happen. And I was in LA last week for kind of, a friend's trip, a birthday trip.
Yeah.
And I had never been to DC Daily sets before, so I said to my editor, hey, I want to reach out to this DC Daily producer that spoke to me in the past, blah, 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 and see if I can get arranged. And he said, well, I'll just take it. Like, and he locked me in, let me like go and take pictures, so like that was pretty cool. We went to, I always love going around the Warner Brothers lot when he helped me, get onto that and walk around. One of my friends who loves Gilmore Girls, we got to go onto the Stars Hollow set.
Wow.
Which nobody was allowed on that day because they were setting up to film an episode of Lucifer. But, we were able to go pretty close and go to the Gazebo because of, people who were very, very helpful. And we didn't break any rules. Like, I'm realizing as I'm saying this, like, I don't want to make it sound like they did something wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. But,
it's so
benefits.
Fun. And then you also went to the Nightwing event, right?
Yes, I actually had to do that outside of DC Universe, like, because again, you can't go over your editor's head and say, hey, I'm going to DC Universe. And my editors for DC Universe and DC Comics were both there. But, so I had to, like, actually go to that under one of their websites. But that was an awesome event. And I loved costumes up close and talking to costume designers. That was cool.
I love how you took a picture of the butt specifically for all of us DC Universe fans.
There was so much talk about the butt at that event. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's that there's been one thing my associate editor said to me is like anything about Dick Grayson is like basically like gets a lot of hits, and one of the biggest articles that was ever done was Alex Jaff's article about like Jason's butt.
Oh my god, it was
few months ago.
Funny.
Yeah, I know.
I still remember Derriere, like it was like Rear One. This is the story of Rear One instead of Year One. It was so funny.
Yeah, no, that was. It might be one of the most popular like news articles ever. I don't know statistics, but it did really, really well.
Yeah. Like, what was, like, those sorts of events, like, what are those like? Like, I've always just wondered.
It depends on the event. That one in particular, met at, it wasn't publicly announced. You basically had to receive, like, a secret email and told where to meet. I did not receive the secret email, but I knew about the secret email, so I contacted the organizer and requested to be added, and I got to be added. I was lucky.
Yeah.
And we met at a parking garage by the WB lot where they took us on a bus to an undisclosed... This sounds really weird as I'm saying it out loud. Like, where they took us on a bus about, 20 minutes, some other building. And it was like a costume shop, like design place. And there was food and drink there, which is awesome because there's not always those at press events. And if you see the video, there's all the Titans costumes, so we walked through for that. And it was kind of like, mini panels. So they showed us like step by step, like costume designing to 3D printing to like spray painting. And then they did the unveiling and a massive panel, and they gave us a goodie bag with like stuff.
Oh my god,
which is pretty cool. And I think I joked to you, yeah, they got my name wrong.